Gaslighting is when someone looks you dead in the eye, lies to your soul, and then calls you crazy for flinching at the smell of deception. They say you're dramatic. They say you're emotional. They say you're reading too deep into things. But weren't you the one who remembered the exact words they used? Weren't you the one who felt the shift in energy the moment they started hiding something? Wasn't it you who stayed up, replaying conversations that didn't sit right in your spirit? You weren't being sensitive. You were being targeted because you saw too much. You remembered too clearly. You felt too deeply, and they couldn't handle that. They needed you to doubt your own mind. They needed you to shrink, to second guess, to lose faith in what your spirit already knew. Why? Because the moment you believe yourself, they lose control. The moment you trust your gut, their lies fall apart. So they gaslight you. They twist your reality. They make you question what actually happened, like some kind of dark magician trying to erase your memory with a smile on their face. And here's what hurts the most. They act like they care. They wear the face of concern while stabbing your sanity behind your back. They play innocent while turning your truth into confusion. But today, no more. You're not here for peace treaties with people who go to war with your mind. You're not here to keep quiet just to keep them comfortable. You are not here to be lied to and then punished for noticing the lie. Before we go deeper, like this video and subscribe to help spread this message to more chosen ones just like you. When you do that, it tells YouTube this message matters, that you're not alone, that truth is rising, and that we are no longer staying silent while they try to burn down our minds with gaslight. Now listen, chosen one, you are not losing your mind, you are remembering it. The truth is, you always knew something was off. You always noticed the shift in tone, the way they dodged questions, the way their story changed depending on who was listening. You noticed the pause before they answered. You felt the guilt they tried to hide. You caught the contradictions. But every time you brought it up, what did they do? They flipped it on you. That never happened. You're remembering it wrong. You always make a big deal out of nothing. Didn't they say that? And they said it with such confidence, like they were trying to hypnotize you with their voice. But no, you're not crazy. You're not broken. You're just waking up in a room full of people who needed you asleep. And when the truth starts waking up inside of you, it shakes the whole house. They can't handle it. So they throw the word crazy at you like a weapon, hoping it sticks to your skin. But it won't. Not anymore. They didn't gaslight you because you were weak. They did it because you were strong. Because your spirit sees in the dark. Because your soul doesn't lie to itself. Because you carry a kind of wisdom that scares the hell out of people who've built their lives on pretending. They needed to break your confidence because your clarity made them feel exposed. That's why they worked so hard to make you question yourself. And it's always the same pattern. 1 minute you're having a normal conversation. The next minute you're apologizing for something they did. 1 second you're standing up for yourself. The next second you're second guessing if maybe you were too harsh, too emotional, too much. It's psychological warfare, chosen one, and you've been fighting it with no armor, no backup, and no map, until now. They don't want you to heal because your healing makes their manipulation obvious. They don't want you to get clear because your clarity reveals their chaos. They don't want you to trust yourself because once you do, you'll leave. And when you leave, they lose access to the energy they were stealing from you the whole time. Gaslighting is not confusion, it's control. It's not about miscommunication, it's about power. And if you feel like you've been drowning in your own mind, it's because someone has been pouring lies into it every time you tried to breathe. But I'm here to tell you, you were right the first time. Your memory isn't broken. Your intuition isn't broken. The only thing broken is the mask they're wearing. You are not here to carry their shame. You are not here to second-guess your soul. You are not here to be spun in circles every time you ask a real question. They gaslight you to keep you small, to keep you quiet, to keep you stuck. But every time you trust yourself again, you take your power back. Every time you say, "No, that did happen," you rip a hole through the illusion. Every time you stop explaining yourself, they feel the shift, and they panic. Because silence from a chosen one is louder than all their excuses combined. This is your moment, right here, right now. You are not lost. You are not confused. You're just surrounded by people who needed you blind, and you're finally opening your eyes. And listen carefully, chosen one. That was just the first strike. What's coming next? That's the full demolition, because we're about to break down this gaslighting game piece by piece, exposing how they move, why they target you, and how to tear down their illusions without lifting a finger. So if you're ready to never be manipulated again, drop the number 11 in the comments to let the enemy know. You see everything now. And if this message hit your spirit, you can support this truth with a super thanks. Every gift pushes this message further into the hands of more warriors waking up, just like you. And now, let's dive into it step by step, because if you are a true chosen one, your soul already knows you're not just here to listen, you're here to wake up. Let's get into it. Number 1. Gaslighting is not a mistake, it's a game. Gaslighters don't argue to understand you, they argue to erase you, to burn your truth and bury the ashes beneath a smile. They didn't forget what they said, they didn't accidentally change the story, they didn't misunderstand your feelings. No, everything they did was calculated, measured, and timed. Gaslighting is not a slip of the tongue. It's a performance, a weapon, a strategy built to make you doubt your memory, your feelings, your truth, and even your own name if they could twist that too. This isn't clumsiness. This is warfare. And the sad part is, they thought you'd never wake up to it. But you did. They played nice when they needed access. They praised you when they wanted your energy, but the second you caught on to the lie, the mask slipped, didn't it? That fake sweetness turned cold. That "I love you" started sounding like a threat. That "you're too sensitive" started echoing like poison in your chest. They needed to break you quietly. They needed you to stay confused while they smiled in your face. And the second you started asking real questions, they didn't want answers. They wanted control, because they knew you were the chosen one in the room, the one who sees through things, the one who doesn't need proof to know something's wrong, the one whose energy exposes people before they even speak. You think it's random that they targeted you, that they spun you in circles while playing victim? No, it's a game, a dangerous one, and you were the biggest threat the moment you trusted your own instincts. Gaslighters don't want conversation, they want control of the narrative, and they play dirty. They twist timelines, rewrite history, and flip the script so hard you start wondering if you were the one who caused the chaos. But you weren't. You were the one feeling the chaos. And that's the difference. Your awareness wasn't the problem, it was the target. They don't like strong minds. They don't like clear memories. They don't like people who remember exactly what happened on a random Tuesday night 4 months ago. They don't like people who feel the shift in the room, even when no one's talking. That's why they came for you. Because your gift, your clarity, your sensitivity, your memory is a threat to their illusion. You are the mirror that cracks their fake reflection. And when you started reflecting things they didn't want to face, they didn't try to clean the mirror, they tried to shatter it. Let's be real, they want you to feel crazy because deep down they know you're right. They want you apologizing just to keep the peace. But the peace they want is the kind where you're quiet, blind, and emotionally numb. Where you don't ask why their story doesn't add up. Where you don't ask why you always feel off around them. Where you don't ask why their kindness feels so forced. But chosen one, you can't unsee what you know now, and you shouldn't try to. Think of every powerful voice that ever existed. People like Nelson Mandela, Harriet Tubman, Malcolm X, Frida Kahlo. What did they all have in common? They were labeled difficult, emotional, delusional, even dangerous. Not because they were wrong, but because they were too right for the system they were inside. That's what you are. Too right for the lie they were living in. Too aware for the game they were playing. Too awake for the illusion they worked so hard to keep alive. You weren't just in their life, you were the glitch in their matrix. And the more aware you became, the harder they tried to convince you that you were imagining things. But no amount of lies can stand against a soul like yours. You can feel deception in your bones. You can sense manipulation in the pauses, in the eye contact, in the energy shifts that most people ignore. You don't just hear lies, you feel them. And that scares people who live in them. But don't let that scare you. This is not the time to doubt yourself. This is the time to sharpen your inner blade. You've been soft for too long. You've tried to understand people who were only trying to twist you. You've over-explained, over-apologized, over-analyzed, hoping they'd finally see you clearly. But they never wanted to understand you. They wanted to confuse you just enough to stay in control. That's what gaslighting is. Not love, not concern, not confusion. It's control dressed in fake compassion. They say you're crazy because you're right would destroy the image they built. They say you're too sensitive because you're awake is too dangerous. They say that never happened because admitting it did would mean you were never the problem, and they can't have that. But here's the truth they can't touch. Chosen ones are not easy to fool. You might be quiet, but you're not blind. You might be kind, but you're not weak. And now that you see the game, you don't need to play by their rules. You become the rule. You become the silence they can't spin. You become the mirror they can't break. And when you stop reacting, when you stop defending, when you stop trying to prove what you already know, they lose. That's how you win. Not by explaining yourself into exhaustion, not by begging them to understand, but by letting your silence speak louder than their entire performance. You ever notice how the calmest people scare the loudest liars? That's you now. You don't even have to call them out. Your presence alone starts revealing the truth. Because gaslighters only survive in places where people doubt themselves. But you're not doubting anymore. You're watching. You're remembering, you're reclaiming every part of yourself they tried to twist. You are not broken, you are not lost. You were just inside someone else's game, but you've stepped off the board now. And the player who stops playing breaks the game entirely. So let them squirm, let them spin, let them say whatever they want. You already know the truth. And that truth, it's your power now. Let's keep going. It gets even louder from here. Number 2, they act calm, so you look crazy. Gaslighters don't stay calm because they have control. They stay calm because they're terrified you finally do. They don't raise their voice. They don't lose their cool. They sit there with that still, cold face while you shake with emotion, and then they use it against you. See, you're being irrational. You're always emotional. Look at how you're acting. But let's be honest, didn't they push you there? Didn't they lie? Didn't they flip the story again? Didn't they twist your words until you barely recognized yourself? They act calm while throwing grenades under the table, then call you unstable for reacting to the explosion. Their calm isn't peace. It's a performance, a mask, a trick to make the truth look like madness. They need to be the reasonable one, the level-headed one, the logical one, because if they can wear that mask long enough, it makes it easier to paint you as the villain, the one who's overreacting, the one who's imagining things, the one who's always starting drama. But chosen one, that calm isn't strength, that calm is cowardice, that calm is fear wrapped in control. It's the calm of a person who knows they've been caught. It's the calm of someone who's been preparing their defense while you were still trying to understand what just happened. It's the calm of a manipulator who wants you to explode so they can sit back and say, "See, this is what I deal with." That look on their face, the one with no emotion while you're breaking down, that's not peace, that's manipulation. They're playing chess while you're still thinking it's a conversation. They already planned your reaction. They already knew how to twist it, and every time you fall for it, they collect another piece of your power. But you're waking up now. You're starting to see the setup. You're starting to realize they need you emotional because that gives them the high ground. They need you to react because silence terrifies them. Your tears make them look sane. Your anger makes them look innocent. But your stillness, your control, your decision to not even flinch, that destroys them. Because when you don't react, they lose the script. When you stop explaining, they have nothing to twist. When you just stare back with the kind of clarity that says, "I see through you now," they panic. And they panic quietly because they're still trying to hold the mask in place. But you can feel it shaking. You think they're calm. Watch what happens when you stop talking. Watch what happens when you stop defending yourself. Watch what happens when you just let them talk and expose themselves. That's the power of the chosen one. You don't need to shout. Your awareness screams without a sound. You don't need to prove anything. The universe already knows what they did, and now, so do you. Remember this. They act calm because they fear exposure. They act calm because your awakening is cracking their whole performance. They act calm because you're no longer swallowing their lies like candy. Let them act calm, you act conscious. Because now you see the truth. And the truth doesn't need to raise its voice. It just needs to stand there and watch them fall apart from the inside out. Let's keep going. You're about to understand why your silence is the most dangerous sound in the room. Number 3, the truth scares them more than you think. The moment you stop asking for honesty and start moving in silence, that's when they realize the lie no longer works and you no longer need them. You weren't supposed to wake up. You weren't supposed to notice the patterns. You weren't supposed to catch the shifts in their tone, the timeline that didn't make sense, the energy that didn't match their words. But you did. And that's when everything changed. They weren't scared when you cried. They weren't scared when you begged. They weren't scared when you questioned them because they thought they could always talk their way around it. But when you stopped reacting, when you just stared back like, "I see you now," that's when the fear kicked in. Because your silence meant you weren't confused anymore. It meant you were collecting facts. It meant you were done giving them access to your heart. And that terrifies them. The truth, they've always known you had power. From the beginning. They just hoped you didn't. That's why they played so many games. That's why they tried to twist your self-image, to keep you from seeing who you really are. Because they knew the day you believed yourself was the day their illusion dies. You started noticing the lies, and they noticed you noticing. That's why they started blaming you harder. That's why the guilt trips became more dramatic. That's why they started acting like you were the toxic one. Because they're scared. They're scared you're packing your emotional bags. They're scared your energy is slipping out of their control. They're scared you'll walk away without an explanation, just like they left you emotionally stranded one too many times. They thought your love was weakness. They didn't know your love was divine. They thought they were playing chess against someone who didn't know the rules. But you've been studying the game, quietly, silently, with the universe whispering in your ear, they are not your home, they are your lesson. Oprah left people who didn't believe in her. Muhammad Ali was mocked, hated, lied on, and still stood in his truth. Beyoncé built empires while being doubted behind closed doors. And you're standing at the same edge they once did, where you stop begging people to act right and start choosing yourself like your life depends on it. Because it does. They're not scared of losing you. They're scared of you realizing they were never worth keeping. And now, you know, keep going. The universe is with you. Number 4, they spin confusion like a spider spins webs. A gaslighter doesn't need to scream to control you. They just whisper enough lies to tangle your mind until you can't tell what's real anymore. They don't need chains to trap you. They use confusion. They use tiny lies, half-truths, slippery answers, and well-timed silences. They don't hit you. They spin you, like a spider weaving a web you didn't even know you walked into. Until it's too late. You ask one simple question, and suddenly you're in a debate about your tone. You point out an inconsistency, and now they're talking about how you always overthink. The truth you're chasing keeps moving every time you get close. They want you dizzy, lost, tired, because tired people don't argue, tired people don't leave, tired people stay. But you're not tired anymore. You're done. They change the story every time you ask, because they're never telling the truth to begin with. One day it was, I was at work. The next day it's, I told you I was at my cousin's. Then it becomes, you never listen, that's why you're confused. No, you're not confused. You're being lied to, over and over, in little pieces, until your memory becomes foggy and your gut stops speaking. They turn simple things into puzzles just to keep your mind spinning. That's not love. That's not miscommunication. That's a trap. And the worst part, they pretend to be patient while you unravel in front of them. They act like they're the reasonable one, while you're scrambling for clarity they'll never give you. Because clarity breaks the trap, and they can't have that. Think of Marilyn Monroe, brilliant, intuitive, misunderstood, surrounded by people who painted her as unstable when all she really wanted was the truth. Think of women and men throughout history who were gaslit into silence, painted as hysterical while they were speaking divine truth. You're not crazy. You're walking through a maze someone else built to keep you lost. But guess what? You've seen the pattern now. You've seen how they spin it. And now that you've stepped back, the web is starting to look obvious, sticky, ugly, breakable. Don't let them wrap you up again. This was never love. This was control. And once you stop moving, stop explaining, stop reacting, the web stops spinning, and the spider gets scared. You are not stuck. You were caught in something beneath you. Now burn the web and walk free. Keep going. You're clearer than you've ever been. Number 5, your awareness is a mirror they can't stand. Your awareness is a mirror, and some people would rather break the mirror than face the monster in the reflection. They don't hate you because you're loud. They hate you because you're clear. You walk in the room, and without saying a word, you expose everything they've been trying to hide. Their insecurity, their lies, their double life. You don't need proof. You are the proof. Your presence is a mirror, and mirrors make liars uncomfortable. They don't want healing, they want hiding. And when you show up with that spiritual light, sharp, still, undeniable, they start to itch in their skin. That's why they gaslight you. That's why they downplay your intuition. That's why they say, "You're imagining things," or "You're being dramatic." Because if they can break the mirror, they don't have to look at themselves. You've probably asked yourself before, why do they keep doing this if they know it's hurting me? Here's the truth. It's not just about hurting you. It's about not having to face themselves, because every time you tell the truth, they hear the echo of everything they've buried. Every time you notice a lie, they remember they've been faking it for years. You don't trigger them because you're wrong. You trigger them because you're right. And that scares the hell out of someone living in denial. And it gets deeper. See, your awareness isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. You don't just catch the words they never said. You catch the shifts in their soul. You feel it in their silence. You read the parts they try to skip. That's a divine gift. And that's what makes you the chosen one. You don't need cameras. You don't need screenshots. You don't need proof. The universe shows you things, and that makes people who lie for a living terrified. Look at people like Lauryn Hill, Tupac, Maya Angelou, truth-tellers who didn't need to fight dirty. They saw through the world, and the world hated them for it. You're not alone. You're part of that same bloodline of visionaries who get rejected, shamed, and questioned, not because they're weak, but because they carry truth that burns illusions to the ground. That's why they wanted you to doubt yourself, because the moment you trust your vision, the whole game ends. So trust it. They never feared your love. They feared your clarity, because your eyes don't lie, and now they can't hide. Let's go deeper. You're just getting started. Number 6. They use doubt like a weapon. They didn't need to raise their hand to break you, just their voice, just their tone, just a few carefully chosen lies, and suddenly you were doubting the very ground beneath your feet. Doubt. That's their weapon of choice. Not fists, not shouting, not even open disrespect. Just soft, slow, soul-shaking doubt. The kind that slips in like a whisper and makes you question everything you know you felt. You tell them how something hurt you, and they say, "That never happened." You bring up their lie, and they say, "You're too sensitive." And at first you push back. You try to defend what you know, but they're calm, smooth, emotionless, until eventually you start second-guessing your own memory. That's the trap. They want you confused because confusion keeps you close. If you're unsure of what happened, you'll keep checking in with them. You'll keep seeking their version of the story. You'll keep apologizing for things they did. You'll become your own prisoner, and they won't even have to lift a finger. But deep down, you remember everything, don't you? You remember the time, the date, the way their voice shifted, the way their eyes looked away, the way your stomach dropped when they lied straight to your face and made you feel guilty for noticing. That's the thing about chosen ones. Your spirit stores the truth, even when your mind gets foggy. And here's what they fear most, that you'll stop asking for permission to trust yourself, that you'll stop explaining, that you'll stop saying, "But didn't you say?" and start saying, "I remember." That's enough. Because it is. You're not here to debate reality with someone who's building lies like Lego blocks. You're not here to defend your memory like it's on trial. They know what they did. They just need you to forget it so they don't have to face it. This is how manipulators operate. They chip at your clarity until you start defending their version of events. But you're too awake for that now. You see the pattern. You hear the trap in their words. You know the game. Think about people like Chadwick Boseman, moving in silence, carrying grace and truth while surrounded by noise and illusion. He didn't waste energy defending his choices. He just knew who he was. So do you. Don't let them erase what's already written on your soul. Your memory is sacred. Your truth is your weapon. And now you're finally using it. Keep going. Let's finish this. Number 7. Stop explaining. Start watching. They don't fear your words, they fear your silence, because when you stop explaining, they lose the blueprint to manipulate you. You've explained yourself 100 times, haven't you? You've repeated the truth, circled back, softened your tone, over-apologized, hoping they'd finally get it, hoping they'd finally see you. But every time you speak, they twist your words. Every time you explain, they flip the story. You end up defending yourself for things they did and walking away from conversations more confused than when you started. That's not communication, that's a trap. And the most powerful move you can make now is silence. Stop giving them the material to spin. Stop handing them your emotions, your reasoning, your pain. They're not listening to understand. They're listening to weaponize. The more you explain, the more tools you give them to turn around and paint you as the problem. They'll cut up your truth and wear it like armor, leaving you speechless, tired, and doubting your own voice. But silence terrifies them, because when you stop talking, they can't track you, they can't twist anything, they don't know what you're thinking, what you're planning, or what part of them you finally saw clearly. And that kills them. When the chosen one goes silent, the enemy starts unraveling, because silence means you know. It means you've stopped trying to win them over. It means you're observing and preparing to leave. Watch their face when you say nothing. Watch the cracks in their calm start to show. Watch the nervous laughter, the fake confusion, the sudden shift in tone. They'll try to bait you back in. Why are you being distant? What's your problem now? You always do this. But don't take the bait. Stay still. Let the silence speak, because it does speak. It says, I'm no longer available for manipulation. You ever notice how the most powerful people don't over-explain? Michelle Obama, Steve Jobs, Rihanna. They move with purpose, not permission. They speak once, then watch. Because when your truth is clear, you don't need to sell it. You just stand in it. That's your energy now. No more justifying, no more pleading, no more looping in circles just to keep someone else comfortable. Let them wonder, let them spin, let them panic in the quiet. The universe is backing your silence now. You don't have to say a thing, because the truth is already ringing in their ears. Stay silent, stay sharp, stay powerful. Let's keep going. The next part will hit even harder. Number 8. It's not love. It's jealousy dressed up. They didn't love you. They studied you so they could copy your light and crush your spirit when it wouldn't fit in their hands. Let's stop calling it love. Let's call it what it was. Jealousy in disguise. They never wanted to love you. They wanted to be you. Your energy, your confidence, your intuition, your softness, your strength. The way people were drawn to you without you even trying. The way you saw through lies without needing receipts. The way your presence moved the room without you saying a word. That's what they wanted. And when they couldn't steal it, They decided to smear it. They told you they cared, they mirrored you, they flattered you, but deep down they were studying you like a blueprint, taking notes on how you speak, how you think, how you carry yourself. They envied the way your soul stayed pure, while theirs twisted in shadows. And the moment they realized they couldn't duplicate your essence, that's when the war began. Jealousy isn't always loud. Sometimes it moves quietly with a smile. Sometimes it shows up as a partner, a friend, a supporter. But the signs were always there. The little digs, the backhanded compliments, the moments where they celebrated you with their words, but their eyes told a different story. You felt it, that tension, that competition you never asked for, that weird energy when you were happy. They didn't want you to shine. They wanted your shine to belong to them. And when they couldn't bottle it, when they couldn't clone it, they flipped. They started picking at your self-esteem, subtle insults, gaslighting, making you doubt your voice, question your worth. They thought if they could break you, they could become you. But they made one mistake. You're not a personality, you're a soul assignment. You weren't built in the spotlight, you were shaped in fire. What they were trying to steal wasn't something you put on, it's who you are. And no mask can copy that. Look at every powerful woman and man who's been envied by the very people they tried to love. Marilyn Monroe, Nipsey Hussle, Princess Diana. People whose light made the wrong ones obsessed, then bitter, then dangerous. You're not crazy. You were just in the presence of someone who didn't want to love you. They wanted to consume you. And that's the truth they'll never admit. This was never love. This was possession. And the moment you stopped feeding their need to compete, to control, to conquer, you became the enemy in their eyes. Let them go. Let the snake shed its skin somewhere else. The universe already marked you as untouchable. Stay sharp. We're not done yet. Number 9. Your clarity is their worst fear. The moment you stop needing their version of the story is the moment their whole illusion starts to rot. They were never scared of your anger. They were never scared of your tears. What they've always feared is your clarity, your calm, your awakening. Because when a chosen one goes silent and clear, the performance ends, the spell breaks, the game collapses, and they know it. See, their power was never real. It only worked when you didn't trust yourself. When you needed their approval, when you were still trying to make sense of the nonsense, when you were still giving them chances they hadn't earned. But clarity, that's a spiritual sword. And when you finally picked it up, they felt it slice through their whole act. You didn't need to yell. You didn't need to expose them on social media. You didn't need a dramatic exit. All it took was truth and distance. The truth that whispered, you were never safe here. The truth that reminded you of every time you felt something was off, but stayed anyway. The truth that said, this is not love, this is control, wrapped in attention. And the distance, that was the nail in the coffin, because when you pulled your energy back, their world shrank. When you stopped checking in, when you stopped arguing, when you stopped showing up for conversations that went nowhere, that's when their power truly died. Because what they fed on wasn't your love. It was your confusion. Don't underestimate the threat of your clarity. It's the reason they tried so hard to keep you spinning. Because when you see them for what they are, you become immune. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You stop hoping. And once the illusion dies, so does their hold over you. Look at people like Maya Angelou, who said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Look at people like Malala Yousafzai, still standing in truth after attempts to silence her. Look at you, standing taller with every lie you untangle. They tried to confuse you, but you turned confusion into confirmation. Let them panic. Let them spiral. Let them drown in the silence they use to weaponize against you. You don't need revenge. You are the consequence. You see clearly now, and that's the one thing they can never unsee. Keep going. Your power is just beginning to return. Number 10. Set a boundary that makes them panic. Nothing shakes a manipulator more than the word no delivered without explanation, because it means you've stopped asking for their permission to protect your peace. They didn't think you'd ever walk away. They thought you'd keep explaining, keep forgiving, keep watering the dead plant, hoping it would bloom. But then one day, you just stopped. No fight, no announcement, no long message, just silence. And that silence, that was your first boundary. That was your first sword. And the second you drew that line, they felt the ground shift beneath them. Because fake people don't fear confrontation. They fear disconnection. They fear being locked out of the access they once abused. They fear losing control. And boundaries, real ones, they slam that door shut without warning. You see, you don't have to yell to set a boundary. You don't have to threaten. You don't have to post quotes online hoping they get the message. When you truly decide that you've had enough, it shows in your eyes, in your tone, in your absence. You stop showing up to the chaos. You stop responding to the bait. You stop justifying why your soul is tired. And that's when they panic. They'll call you cold. They'll say you switched up. They'll try to flip the narrative to make you feel guilty for finally protecting yourself. But let them, because the truth is, your boundary didn't hurt them. It exposed them. It showed that their connection to you was never based on love. It was based on control, convenience, and access. A real boundary says, I'm not playing anymore. And when a chosen one says that with action, not just words, manipulators crumble. Look at icons like Rosa Parks, one quiet no, and the system shook. Look at Selena Gomez, who walked away from toxic circles and rebuilt her peace. Look at you, who once kept making excuses for them, and now doesn't even need to respond. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. No closure, no last word, no final warning. Just vanish, just disconnect, just choose yourself with no apology. They weren't expecting that. And now that you've set the boundary, don't look back. The universe will fill the space you cleared with peace, truth, and people who don't flinch when you say no. Let's keep going. The version of you on the other side of this boundary, she's unstoppable. Number 11. You were given eyes that see in the dark. The universe gave you spiritual night vision because it knew you'd be walking through darkness other people wouldn't survive 5 minutes in. You weren't cursed with sensitivity. You were armed with it. You weren't made to fit in. You were made to see through. While others saw smiles, you felt hidden agendas. While others heard excuses, you caught the silence behind the words. While others got fooled by charm, you sensed the shift in energy before anything even happened. That's not paranoia. That's protection. Chosen one. Not everyone has this gift. Not everyone can sit in the middle of someone's lie and feel the truth vibrating beneath it. Not everyone can hear the fake "I love you" and feel the cold behind it. But you can. And that's why you've been attacked, dismissed, gaslit, and misunderstood for so long. Because your ability to see in the dark exposes the monsters who thrive in it. You were never meant to blend in with the blind. You were meant to be the one who navigates the shadows, the one who senses what others overlook. the one who calls out the storm before the clouds even roll in. And yes, it's exhausting. You've probably wished you couldn't feel so much. You've probably wanted to unknow the things your spirit reveals. But the reason it's heavy is because you're carrying truth in a world built on illusion. You don't just survive in darkness, you decode it. That's why they fear you. That's why they try to make you doubt your gift. Because your eyes expose what their masks are trying to hide. Think about Nikola Tesla, called insane for seeing things others couldn't imagine. Think of Joan of Arc, labeled crazy for hearing guidance others couldn't hear. Think of all the visionaries, prophets, creators, and warriors who saw into darkness and walked through it while the world mocked them. You're one of them. You were chosen for this because the universe knew you'd listen to what can't be heard and see what can't be shown. That you'd survive the betrayals, the manipulation, the loneliness, and still come out glowing. You see what others can't because you were built to go where others won't. So when people try to shame you for seeing too much or being too deep, just smile. Let them keep walking in circles. You've already read the map in the dark. Keep walking. You're almost out of the tunnel. Number 12. They gaslit you because you're a threat. They couldn't match your power, so they tried to convince you it didn't exist. That's not love. That's fear, dressed like affection, dripping in envy. Chosen one. They didn't gaslight you because you were broken. They gaslit you because you were dangerous to their illusion. You were the one thing they couldn't control. The one person who saw through their charm. The one soul who didn't need to be loud to be powerful. So they tried to shrink you. They tried to bend your mind, not because you were weak, but because your spirit was too strong for them to handle unshaken. The attacks weren't random. They were strategic. They smiled in your face while chipping away at your self-esteem behind your back. They praised you just enough to keep you close, then slowly poisoned your identity with doubt, guilt, and gaslight. They fed off your light while mocking your shine. They mirrored your magic until they realized they could never be you. And that's when it turned dark. They weren't trying to love you. They were trying to disarm you because your energy exposes everything fake in the room. Your eyes make liars twitch. Your presence pulls masks right off people's faces. You don't need revenge. You don't need receipts. You are the consequence. And they felt that deeply. That's why they attacked your confidence. They knew your light couldn't be dimmed from the outside, so they aimed for the inside. They wanted you to second-guess your gifts. They wanted you to question your memory, your emotions, your worth. Because the second you stopped trusting yourself, they won. But you didn't stay down. You didn't stay blind. You remembered. You remembered the power they tried to erase. You remembered who you were before they entered the picture. And now, you're not just powerful, you're untouchable. Look at Malcolm X. They feared him before he spoke. Look at Amy Winehouse. They called her too much when her soul was too real for the machine. Look at people like you, walking through hell, picking up your truth piece by piece, building a life they thought they'd shattered. You are not here to be understood by the ones who feared you. You are here to outgrow the hands that tried to cage you. They gaslit you because they couldn't stand beside you. And now you stand above it all, unbothered, unreachable, unforgettable. Let's close this. Your glow-up is divine retaliation. And now you see it clearly, don't you? None of it was random. Every twist, every doubt, every attack was because they saw your power before you did. But now that you're awake, you're untouchable. You've outgrown their games. And the universe is standing behind you with every step forward. If this message hit your soul, like the video, subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments to say, "I see through it all now." Share this with another chosen one who needs to remember their light. Because your clarity isn't just for healing, it's for leading others out of the dark too.